Hello, Visions, and welcome to this session of the Curriculum Fair. We are joined by Keith from Beyond the Page, who will be sharing more about their science and social studies curriculum. Keith, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks, Kaylee. So my name is Keith Howe. My wife Kim and I, we founded Beyond the Page. It was about 21 years ago now, and we had a very clear goal. We wanted to create a curriculum that was rigorous and engaging, and we wanted students to think deeply about what they learned. We wanted them to learn through hands-on experiences, and we wanted them to develop creativity. We actually had an opportunity to test this vision with all four of our children, and each of them have very different learning styles. We have very analytical and brilliant math minds, and with especially my son is that way. And then we had others who were very just concrete and fact based. And we really found that in every case we had the same result. So when students were challenged and engaged at the same time, they really thrived in the curriculum. Our journey began when our oldest son, Jaden, was preparing for kindergarten. He actually hates it when we talk about him, but it's our story, so we have to. And we had not ever considered homeschooling until we were getting ready to enroll him in kindergarten. And his experience in preschool just didn't, it was something we felt like a traditional classroom just wasn't gonna be best for him. And so Kim was working as a curriculum developer in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and she went to attend a homeschool convention to look for materials. And when she looked at the various curriculum and she looked at it with the eye of a curriculum developer, she found a very clear gap. There were programs that were rigorous but dry and uninspiring. Others seemed fun and engaging, but they tended to lack depth. And so we couldn't find a curriculum that did both well. And I still remember the day when she came to me and she just said, "I want to homeschool Jaden, but I want to write my own curriculum. I know how to write it better than what I've seen, and it's going to be what I'm going to do is going to be better than anything he could get anywhere else." And so it was kind of audacious, but we started Beyond the Page with that intention. We wanted to combine academic rigor and meaningful engagement so that students can learn deeply, but then also really love the process of learning. And so I'm going to go through our science and social studies programs with you today and sort of give you an idea of sort of what we've done to try to implement that. So we'll start with science. Um, at Beyond the Page, we want children to discover the magic of science, and we want them to discover it through messy experiences, hands-on activities, meaningful projects, and our goal is understanding. It's not just memorization. We want students to learn science by doing it, not just by reading, not just by hearing about it, but by actually doing it. And this reflects a real simple idea in curriculum development, and it's that it's called the constructivist model of learning. It's just that learning is active. Students they build understanding through experience, and that's what we try to weave through all of our curriculum. I'll start off here before I get into our curriculum, and I'll ask you a question. So, of all the science programs, oops, I didn't switch my slide yet. There we go. So, of all the programs that you're going to be evaluating for science, how many of them will claim to be a hands-on curriculum? And the simple answer to this question is pretty much all of them. Every science program eventually includes an experiment, and at some point, students are going to use their hands. So that alone is enough for many publishers to just label their curriculum as a hands-on curriculum. But that's not what we mean when we talk about hands-on. In many programs, hands-on work appears as an add-on. It's something that you do on experiment days, but the core instruction is going to remain passive and unengaging. And so we take a different approach. And so we design our units so that students are actively engaging with ideas from the start. Their hands-on learning is not an extra feature. It is the structure of the curriculum. Students are going to investigate, build, test, and reflect as a part of every single daily lesson. So as you review science programs, look closely at the lessons and ask the question, I mean, is active learning built into each day, or is it just added occasionally? And we provide sample lessons on our website that you can look at. There's samples there with visions that they have where you can look and go through our lessons and just ask it with that eye of is are we engaging kids in hands-on learning as sort of the core structure of the curriculum? And that's really the difference between occasional activity and daily engagement that really sets Beyond the Page apart. I'll show you an example of that. And I'm going to do that by looking at one from our age 8 to 10 level. It's called Dirt and Plants. And just a quick note on age level. So we use age ranges to identify our different age levels, and I'll try to bring up the grade. So age 8 to 10 is a fourth grade level curriculum. And so I'll try to remember to always include that grade level. So if you're not familiar yet with our ranges, you'll still have an idea of sort of what we're talking about. So if you have a fourth grader next year, you would start with the age 8 to 10 level. And what I'm about to show you is going to be the very first day of the entire year. So this is what you're going to do when you sit down for science on September the 2nd and start your science curriculum. The very first thing you're going to do, if you look at the introduction here, is you're going to put a cup of dirt into your child's hands. And this isn't a cup of dirt you have to go out and dig up yourself. I'll get into our science kits in just a minute, but we include this dirt in the kits. But the key point here is that the first thing you're going to do is a direct experience. Your child starts by observing dirt, being asked questions about it, thinking about it, and then you're going to read and build understanding on top of that experience. And then we move into activities. And the activities are the core of our lessons. And so I'm just going to go through some of these here and just give you an idea of what we mean when we talk about a hands-on curriculum. In activity 1, you reread one of the pages from the book, and then we're going to blindfold your child. And you're going to blindfold your child, and you're going to take 4 different types of soil and place them into 4 different bags. And your child is going to reach into each one while blindfolded and describe the texture and the feel and of the clay and the sand and the silt, and describe the different experience, the different textures that they experience as they're blindfolded. So they don't just learn about soil, they're experiencing it and building their understanding through touch and comparison. And then after handling those 4 types of soil, they're going to record what they learned in a student activity page. They're going to identify the type and the color and describe the texture in their own words. And we do provide 2 versions of this activity, and so you can choose the one that fits best for your child. Activity 2, which you can see on this page here, is going to complete the first day. And in this activity, your child's going to mix different types of soil together. So taking different types of soil, mixing it together, and then is going to plant some seeds in those soil and make predictions. And so you're going to have generating the scientific method just right here from in the very first day. Even before they really may know what the scientific method is, they're actually going to be participating in it. So they're going to observe and test those predictions. And that's how the first day ends, with a question that sort of continues beyond the lesson. The next day, you're going to pick up right where you left off. Activity 3, your child is going to test how well different types of soil hold water. And through this, they're going to discover that different soils have different properties. And they're not going to know it because they were told, but they're going to know it because they tested it themselves, and they understand it because they've done it. After the experiment, they're going to answer questions that help them reflect on what it is that they've observed. And this pattern continues. So activity 4, you're going to read and draw organisms that live in the soil. In activity 5, you're going to build a soil ecosystem in a bottle. And activity 6, walking through your home, identifying things that come from the soil. So things like wood and food and spices and clothing. They're going to record their observations, and they're going to provide drawings and written explanations. And by the end of this lesson, your child doesn't just know that soil is important, they understand it through direct experience. And this lesson is not an outlier. It's simply the first one of the year. Every lesson follows this same approach. We design every single day so that students are actively engaging with what they're learning. They're not just reading about ideas, they're working with them and testing them and experiencing them. And this is how we try to build understanding in kids. This is the structure of our science curriculum, and it's what you can expect every day with Beyond the Page. So when I say that Beyond the Page is a hands-on curriculum, now I hope you have a really good idea about what it is that we mean when we say hands-on. So the downside of a hands-on curriculum is that it takes a lot of materials, and that's something that I want to talk about now. Look, getting into our science kits, and I'm going to make a statement here that is going to sound like hyperbole, but it is not. Beyond the Page science kits are unlike any science kits you have used before. So if you have not seen one of our science kits yet, you just sort of reset your expectation on what a science kit includes. And I'm going to sort of go through and just give you an example of what we include in one semester of a science kit. And everything in this pack is labeled for the lesson and the activity that you're working on. So in here, I mean, we're including a square of thin cloth, some chalk powder, a clay soil, and soil is soil is sort of one of those things. We spend so much time drying and bagging soil here. It's really mind blowing. We include construction paper and Ziploc bags, gallon size, grass seed and gravel and index cards and rubber bands and lima beans, magnifying glasses and paintbrush, pencils, pipe cleaners, plastic cups, potting soil. There's 4 different types of soil in this one semester science kit. A zip top quart size bag, rulers, sand, spray bottles, styrofoam cups, tracing paper, variety of seeds. I mean, this list goes on and on. I mean, batteries and clips, and there's a number of different magnetic shields that we have, aluminum shields and foam shields and wooden shields, a plastic comb, and it goes on. Brass fasteners. There's an electric motor in here. There's foam balls and iron filings. I mean, you can see this list just goes on and on. And this is all just from one semester, and it just keeps going. I mean, we include feathers and drinking straws. The only thing that we include in here that's actually of food in any of our packages is the lifesavers, because they come pre-wrapped and sealed. We generally do not include food items in any of our kits because it wouldn't work out to create those and send them out in a timely manner. So anyway, so you can see this list here of all these things. This is the complete list of what's included in one semester science kit. So with the age 8 to 10 level, you actually get 2 different kits, one for each semester, and we have kits for all of our every single age level now. We actually just last week we released the science kits for our age 7 to 9 level, which was the only level that didn't have kits. So now we have kits for every single level that you order. There is a reason that companies don't build kits like this. And the reason is from a business standpoint, it does not make any sense. So what we wanted to do with our science kits is we have one clear goal is to make it easy for families to implement hands-on curriculum. So our focus is we want our curriculum to be usable, and the only way to do that is to provide these types of kits and materials. And we don't treat them as a profit center. We price them so we don't lose money, but we spend a significant amount of time all year long. I mean, we start building. I mean, as soon as the busy season in September sort of winds down, we get our whole team, and we're in College Station, Texas, right near Texas A&M University. So there's about 70,000 college students here, and we hire a lot of them, and we spend a lot of time putting these together. But the result is very simple: is that everything that you need is included. Every bag is labeled, all the lessons by lesson and activity. You just open it up and go. There's no prep, no searching for materials, and no substitutions. In very practical terms, there is nothing else. There are no other science kits on the market that match this level of completeness and usability. What I want to do now is switch gears from talking about hands-on and materials kits and just sort of give you an overview of how we go through science. What we do is in the early elementary years, this is going to be the age 4 to 5, 5 to 7, and 6 to 8. So kindergarten through second grade. What we do is we use a spiraling approach. and students are going to study all the major branches of science, and they're going to return to key ideas each year with greater depth and complexity. So in the first year, for example, students are going to explore concrete observable topics like animal habitats or weather, solids and liquids, and the five senses. And they're going to focus on noticing details and describing what they observe and understanding basic needs. And then in the following year, those same ideas are going to expand. And students are going to move from studying habitats and identifying animal needs to exploring ecosystems and relationships. They'll progress from observing daily weather to investigating larger Earth systems, including natural resources, rivers, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Each year is going to build intentionally on the last. So students will deepen their understanding while connecting ideas across topics. And we believe this approach aligns with how young children learn. So we start with hands-on observation and familiar experiences, rocks, plants, animals, your own bodies. And then we gradually introduce more complex systems and cause and effect thinking. So students aren't just memorizing facts, they're investigating and asking questions and conducting simple labs, building models and sharing what they learn. By revisiting topics and going deeper each year, students are going to build both strong content knowledge, but also the thinking skills that they're going to need for more advanced science. Another unique feature in these younger levels, this is the K through 2 levels, age 4 to 5 through age 6 to 8, is that the science is fully interdisciplinary. It's taught as part of a single lesson, and that lesson integrates science and social studies and language arts. And this approach in the younger years really helps to give context to the learning for young students. They're going to read, write, and think about meaningful topics while they study science. And so we're going to strengthen comprehension and really help students make connections across the subject. So we want learning to feel unified and not fragmented. In the later elementary years, students are going to move from observing science to explaining it, and they begin to understand the processes and the systems and the laws. So age 8 to 10, which we've been using for our example earlier on, students are going to study topics like soil and seeds and photosynthesis and ecosystems, but also magnetism and electricity, forces, rocks, and animal adaptations. So they're going to design ecosystems and build circuits and test magnets and examine fossils. By the age 9 to 11 and 10 to 12, so this will be fifth and sixth grade, the content's going to deepen significantly. Students are going to explore energy in its many forms. So they're going to study biomes and ocean systems, space and the human body, weather and climate, plate tectonics, force and motion, and then all matter of chemistry and biology, like matter and chemical change in cells. They're going to move from knowing that plants need sunlight to being able to explain photosynthesis and observing gravity and then applying Newton's laws. They're going to go from classifying rocks to analyzing the rock cycle. The curriculum continues to spiral. So it's just like we did in the younger levels. We continue to spiral, but we just go into more depth and more precision. Each return when you have a spiraling curriculum like this, each time you return to a concept, it just strengthens the understanding. And by this stage, students aren't just learning science; they're starting to think like a scientist. In the middle school science, we introduce a sort of a new goal. So we build on the foundation that we laid in the elementary years. But we have a new goal, and that goal is to prepare students for high school science. And the middle school science program is built around the four major disciplines. So we have biology, chemistry, physics, and earth science. And students are going to spend about a semester on each of these. So this gives them enough time to actually understand each area, not just be introduced to it. So we'll spend, the first semester of seventh grade will be on earth science. And when we move in to spend a semester in biology. So when they enter high school, they're not seeing this material for the first time. They're ready to hit the ground running with the advanced high school classes. In social studies, our goal is simple. We want to help students think critically about the world. Students are going to do this by learning from the past, but then also by understanding the present. And our units are designed to build a strong foundation for that understanding. Social studies isn't just history. It includes geography and government and economics and culture and citizenship. So these fields are all connected, and each one explains how societies function and change. Um, Many homeschool programs we have found tend to focus very heavily on history, often at the expense of the other areas. But we really feel that history on its own is not enough, especially in the younger years. The meaning of history really depends upon this broader context and broader understanding. So um, many students will study history by memorizing facts and dates, but those details are quickly forgotten. And a stronger approach helps them to understand patterns and systems and cause and effect relationships. And so this is why we introduce topics like economics and government and geography and culture, and show how each of those areas shape the historical events that they study. Um, Young students do need exposure to these areas early. And when they build this foundation, they can see how the events connect and begin to make sense of the world as a whole. If you're using our language arts program alongside science and social studies, you'll get an added benefit. Our language arts program in the upper levels, and this begins in like the third grade, the age 7 to 9 level. Our language arts program is integrated thematically with our science and social studies. So if you're studying a topic in science and social studies, the language arts unit will include a book that covers that same topic. Students are going to read novels and stories that connect directly to the time periods and the cultures and the themes that are being studied. And the books really place them inside the human experience instead of just focusing on the facts and the dates. And it can be dry and boring, but to understand and empathize with a character or a person who's going through that time period. Um, by combining history with the other sciences, it reinforcing it through literature, we're helping students move beyond memorization. So we're helping them to analyze and connect ideas and think critically about the past and present. In the early elementary years, social studies instruction focuses on building foundational concepts. So just for example, we're going to start with local community. We're going to learn basic economic ideas of goods and services. We're going to explore how workers support the well-being of the community, developing understandings of natural and human resources and the responsibilities of citizens. So once this foundation is established, students can begin to study different communities and cultures around the world. They can learn that people in different places share similarities, but they also have a lot of differences. The early concepts prepare students to understand and appreciate ancient cultures in future years. So once you understand that modern cultures have differences, then you can start really understanding and appreciating the ancient cultures as well. Just for example, instead of showing a kindergartner a map of ancient Egypt, we first teach the concept of mapping. So students will map their own home, their street and community, and then later, when they study a map of ancient Egypt, they'll understand more about maps and how they represent places and information. Similarly, before studying bartering systems in ancient Rome, students will learn about wants and needs and how local economies work. They might earn money completing tasks and then use that money to buy goods at a local dollar store. By building these concepts first, students gain that background knowledge they need to make history meaningful when they study it in later years. Once students build a foundation in the core ideas of social studies, excuse me, we begin a chronological survey of American history. This sequence allows students to place the events in order and understand how one period leads to the next. The survey begins in the age 8 to 10 levels, that would be fourth grade, with units on Native Americans and early explorers, and it continues through the age 9 to 11 and 10 to 12 levels. In 9 to 11, so fifth grade, students are going to continue with studies of colonization and the American Revolution. They're going to look at westward expansion and immigration. In the 10 to 12 level and sixth grade, the survey concludes with units on the Civil War and slavery, the World Wars, and the Civil Rights Movement. At the same time, curriculum continues to deepen students' understanding of other areas of social studies as well. So students are going to still explore cultures around the world. They're going to examine economic ideas in greater detail. They're going to consider the role of government and citizenships and study different types of governments. These studies are going to help students understand how these historical events connect to geography and culture and different economic systems. In middle school social studies, what we do, and this is going to be, it's our age 11 to 13 and 12 to 14. It's seventh and eighth grade. In age 11 to 13, students will study both ancient civilizations and then current cultures from different regions around the world. So each region begins with a unit on the ancient civilization that developed there. And then the following unit is going to study the modern culture of that same region. And this helps students see how geography and history and economics interact over time, and also how the past continues to influence today. And then in the 12 to 14 level, the eighth grade, students are going to complete an in-depth study of United States history. This is going to begin with the American Revolution and continue through the modern times. This course, it examines major historical events, but also explores economic, culture, and political forces that impacted our nation and helped shape our nation. So I hope this presentation has been helpful in giving you an idea of how we approach science and social studies from elementary up through the middle school years. If you're interested in learning more about language arts, we recorded another video on Tuesday that you can watch on that as well. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to contact us on this email address, or you can give us a call as well. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Keith. We will end the recording now and move into Q&A.
Okay.